Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we have a blue blade, we got a blue blade, we got the blue blade, got a blue blade, we got the blue blade, got the blue blade. No, really, it's really blue. Today we are looking at the Ribsaw Flamberge. The Ribsaw Flamberge is a normal level unique, and it does have a pretty amazing effect on it, which is ripping and sawing things. I mean, that's exactly what it does, right? It rips and it saws and it saws and it rips and it slices and it dices and it makes julienne fries. Actually, it doesn't make julienne fries. It's sad. The Ribsaw Flamberge is 18 to 45 one-handed damage, 26 to 67 two-handed damage, and it does have a dexterity requirement of 49 with a strength requirement of 70. Most characters at level 26 can utilize this with absolute ease. Those requirements are nothing. We also have a fast attack speed on this because it is a Flamberge. And then we have a 100% increased damage, which does vary by 20%, so 80 to 100%. We also have plus 15 to maximum damage on this, which is definitely very nice, although it's going to wane off pretty heavily in the upper levels because max damage, specifically, unless it's a max damage based on character level, isn't really that great because as you go up, the max damage doesn't, and, well, it just doesn't really have the same effect. We have 6% mana steal on here, which is certainly very nice. And then we come to the meat and potatoes of this weapon, which is the massive 80% chance of open wounds. If you have never seen open wounds, let me do you a favor and let me take you out and just slash some things real quick so you can see open wounds. I'm going to do this in hell difficulty, and the reason I'm going to do this is because open wounds is an effect that increases based on the character's level. So as you can see, my Immortal King Barbarian is level 99, which means that the open wounds that he applies is going to be far more deadly than the open wounds that a level 26 character applies. This has to do with the fact that open wounds is a mechanic that applies a bleed that lasts for 8 seconds. The 8-second bleed is uncurable, and it also prevents all regeneration during the time span that open wounds is active. It's also important to note that open wounds requires a wound to take advantage of. So if the monster is not wounded, then the monster cannot be open wounded. So you have to get at least one hit on the monster first, and then once you get your one hit, then you can apply the open wounds. And open wounds will apply with Whirlwind, which is actually pretty sweet. The only real downside to open wounds ever since the patch is that I've noticed that you can't see it in the new version of the game. They took it away for some reason. But when you look in the old version of the game, it's very clear. He had to have freaking mana burn, didn't he? Had to have mana burn. In the old version of the game, you will clearly see that the open wounds effect is on a target because the monster literally just starts spurting blood like everywhere, and it leaves like a blood trail on the ground during the duration of the open wounds. So definitely very, very noticeable in the old version of the game when open wounds had an effect, but not in the new version of the game. So if you want to double check and make sure that a monster is open wounded, then just flip to the old graphics. You'll be able to see whether they've got open wounds or not on them. It's very apparent when a monster is open wounded with the old graphics. Like, let me see if I can find a monster that won't kick my butt. And as you can see here, 80% open wounds means we've got open wounds on just about every single target in existence. And this comes in really handy for monsters that you don't want to regenerate. They regenerate very quickly. Specifically bosses. It works very good on bosses, always has. And at 80%, you're going to proc it pretty much every single time you hit the target. Like I said, the target does need to actually have some form of damage on them for open wounds to affect. But once they're damaged, once they have like 1 point of damage, you're going to proc it on them. So you really only have to hit them one time. 8 seconds is a pretty long time for the open wounds effect, and if you're like a whirlwind barbarian or something like that, just spraying your open wounds around, you could definitely keep that maybe in like an offhand. And just to have a massive amount of open wounds. You could also very easily bring this to 8 to 100% just by putting on another piece of equipment that has some open wounds on it. I believe a very good low-level option, which is the one I actually recently did a video on, is Bone Flesh. Bone Flesh, I think, has like 35% open wounds or something like that. So combining Bone Flesh with Ripsaw would get you 100%, which means that every single time you attack, open wounds would trigger. Also, it's important to note that as you level up, the amount of open wounds that you're dishing out from level 26 is obviously going to increase. So every single level that you are using this item above level 26, you're going to get more damage out of the open wounds. So you can't really look at this item as a static item like a lot of other items are, where you say, okay, well, this item is, doing this amount of damage and that's it. And it's not, because as you level up, the open wounds damage increases, and the more you level up, the more the damage increases all the way up to level 99, where the open wounds damage hits its final cap. Now, of course, we can upgrade this, and I do feel like it's going to upgrade pretty well. And to do that, we're going to need a Ral, a Soul, and a Perfect Emerald. The Ribsaw Flamberge is going to upgrade to the Exceptional tier, and the requirements are going to go up pretty high, though. It's something that you're going to have to keep note of if you think about upgrading these. So it's going to go from 18 to 45 damage, one-handed, 26 to 67, two-handed, 49 dex, 70 strength, level 26, to the Ripsaw Zweihander. And as you can see, it assumed the appearance of the Nightmare version. So the Nightmare or Exceptional version has a different appearance than the normal difficulty version. And this is because when you upgrade normal difficulty items into Nightmare, a lot of the times they will obtain the special graphic of the Nightmare version item. Unfortunately, though, when you upgrade it to the Elite version, the special graphic will disappear. But as you can see, it's very interesting. It's got a scarab on it. It has the same blue blade, of course, but it also has a red core, which is also very interesting. The red core is very interesting. All in all, I think it's a very sexy-looking blade when it upgrades to Tier 2. But it goes from 30 to 38 to 85 damage, 58 two-handed, 123, 58 to 123 two-handed, 94 dex, 125 strength, level 31. It's actually not bad for a level 31 character. The damage on it is actually pretty good, and the 80% open wounds is actually pretty sweet. I could totally see rocking this on a Whirlwind Barbarian right out of the gate. You're level 30. At level 30, you finally put 1 point into Whirlwind. At level 31, you put 2 points into Whirlwind. You've finally got Whirlwind, and this will give you the Mana Steal and the open wounds that you would probably really like to have as you're whirlwinding around, just like moitering everything, probably with another weapon in the main hand slot. The ethereal version can also be upgraded, and this can go to, from 26 to 59 one-handed damage, 38 to 93 two-handed, 39 dexterity, 60 strength, level 26, to the 56 to 119 one-handed, 86 to 177 two-handed, 84 dex, 115 strength, level 31. Actually a pretty good upgrade, and would actually be really nice on a Barbarian Mercenary. So an Act 5 Barbarian Mercenary, especially to apply the open wounds. You would basically have a Barb Merc who could just spam open wounds for you, and that would certainly be useful, especially if you were not a melee character and you wanted to get open wounds spammed on a monster. 80% is definitely going to be triggering all the time, and as long as your Merc is in there smacking on things, then that'd be great. You probably would have to socket it and put an Amrune in there for lifesteal, though, or give him some kind of lifesteal in the form of an armor or weapon to compensate for the fact that it doesn't have any. But the damage on it actually isn't too bad, especially in the ethereal form, and the open wounds will certainly help a lot. Plus, you get to see all the monsters bleed, which is definitely very fun. We can also upgrade this to the Elite version, which I don't think is going to be that great. It's going to go from 38 to 85 one-handed, 58 to 123 two-handed, 94 dex, 125 strength, level 31, Zweihander, To the Colossus Sword, 52 to 155 one-handed, which is pretty bad. 122 to 257 two-handed, which isn't that great. 95 dexterity, 182 strength, level 72. And as you can see, it lost the special graphic that it had as a nightmare level unique. We can also upgrade the ethereal version to the Colossus Sword as well, which is 56 to 119 one-handed, 86 to 177 two-handed, 84 dex, 115 strength, and level 31. To the Colossus Sword, 78 to 225 one-handed, not bad. 182 to 377 two-handed, 85 dex, 172 strength, and level 72. Now, for a two-handed weapon, it's actually not that great, and I probably wouldn't ever spend a Pull and a Lum rune on this, but it's not terrible either, and just as an option to basically have free open wounds on a target, it could be interesting. I mean, every single target you attack with this, for the most part, is going to have open wounds on them. As a sword, though, it does lack attack rating. It has no attack rating on it, which is rather odd, and it could be a pretty big detriment, especially considering the higher level you go, the more attack rating you need, and if you can't hit the target, you can't apply the open wounds. I do like the effects, though. I mean, it does have pretty good damage. It has Mana Steel to help out the melee character, and the open wounds to really give an additional effect. And the preventing of the monsters regenerating, which is what open wounds do, is actually pretty nice as well. Let's take a look over in Silo's pen, and let's see potentially where we could find this item if we wanted to get our hands on it, especially for an on-level Barbaritan. Let's assume 100% Magic Find feels about right for this item, given its level. And let's take a look at bosses first. So assuming level 26, which is around normal Diablo, there you go. Normal Diablo is one of the best options at 1 in 298. I'm not really going to even go into any of these other options because, quite honestly, if you're level 26, that's where you are. So farming normal Diablo for EXP and items is probably your best bet. We also have super uniques. Let's take a look at those. Nightmare Cow King is not really a good option for a level 26 character, but you could do that on a high-level character if you were just trying to find the item. We've got Shank the Overseer, Doc Farron, Pindleskin, Thresh Socket. I don't see Eldritch on the list. Not bad choices. If you get into Act 5, you've killed Diablo, you could farm those relatively easily. Especially considering that if you're farming Diablo, you've already killed him for your quest, which means you're in Act 5, so those are some good choices as well. Not bad. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys ripping and sawing through my videos and making sure that you hit those like buttons. And as always, keep sawing.